I'm Henry, 25 years old, a guy with deep eyes that seem to contain a sky of memories. His black hair is thick, slightly messy, reaching the nape of his neck, giving him a wild yet masculine look. The curls freely flow with the wind, creating a strong and somewhat careless aura. My skin is tanned. My lips are a bit dry but exude a determined look, like a flower budding in the cold wind. My hands are strong, sinewy, but have delicacy in every movement but contain hidden power. Although he is a quiet person, he doesn't talk much, but he thinks deeply. Inside me is a calmness, a soul that has gone through events that sometimes I cannot even explain. I am sensitive to the world around me, understanding things that others can easily ignore. I observe, I listen, and I seek a meaning, a path, an answer to my own existence. But above all, I know that fate brought me here, starting a journey from which I cannot turn back. I am an ordinary office worker, someone who never believes in the supernatural or gods. Outside of work, my world revolves around football matches. I love the feeling of excitement when the whistle sounds, when the sweat pours down on my forehead, when the ball rolls on the grass. But perhaps, I never expected, a fateful event that changed my entire thinking about life, about the soul, and about reincarnation. Like previous weeks, this weekend, I have an important soccer match with my friends. Our team had been practicing for weeks, and I had full faith in victory. Excitement surged. My heart pounded every time I thought about the moment of taking the decisive shot. But it was that excitement that kept me awake all night, lying looking at the ceiling with my mind spinning with winning scenarios. And then, just as dawn appeared, I fell into a late sleep, missing the planned time to wake up. And then the worst thing happened and I fell asleep. Many unexpected calls from my teammates woke me up. His voice rang out urgently. "Where are you? This weekend's match is very important. Don't miss it. We have to win this match to get to the next round." Startled, I looked at the clock. Damn, I'm late. I jumped out of bed, without having time to prepare much, grabbed the briefcase I had prepared yesterday and the car keys and rushed out. I accelerated on the empty road. The speedometer needle kept moving up. My mind only thought about the match, the cheers of my teammates, and the moment the ball rolled in front of my feet. But then, 1 second of carelessness. A headlight suddenly flashed from the opposite side, so bright that it made me disoriented. The car brakes screeched loudly. The wheels slid across the road, creating sparks. In that moment, everything happened like a slow-motion movie. I felt the sound of the wind whistling past my ears, a terrifying impact sounded, and then my body was thrown into the air. All my senses seemed to be shattered: pain, confusion, fear. But then everything suddenly fell silent. A deep darkness swallowed me. Everything feels like it's falling apart. I felt my body being lifted off the ground, but I no longer felt any pain. A cold wind blew past me, as if I had just escaped from the real world. I looked down. Down there, in the middle of the road covered in oil and blood, was myself, motionless. My body was trapped in a pile of scrap metal. Blood splattered on my forehead. A small stream spilled out from the corner of my mouth. The sounds blurred. The world seemed to be covered with a hazy curtain. People shouted, car lights flashed, sirens rang out in the night. But it all seems to have nothing to do with me anymore. I tried touching myself. My hands cut through the air like a thin mist. Where am I? What is this? Am I still alive or dead? A strange feeling welled up in my heart. I see everything, but no one sees me. Floating in midair, I looked down at my own life ending right here. A primal fear took hold of me. Is this the end of existence? No pain, no fear. I just felt light, as if I was leaving reality. I saw myself lying in the middle of the road. My car was crushed, its lights blinking continuously. Am I dead? But why am I still here, looking down at my body? Then a powerful light appeared, engulfed me, and took me away. When I opened my eyes, I was no longer standing in the middle of the road. Before my eyes was a vast road, stretching to the horizon, paved with marble that sparkled as if plated with gold. On both sides of the road, towering pillars support majestic domes. Each detail on them is exquisitely carved with ancient patterns that I have never seen before. The air here is strangely fresh. Every breath brings a feeling of lightness and relaxation. I suddenly thought, is this heaven? I walked, each step echoing on the marble floor, each sound clear and sharp. I looked around, but there was no one. Everything is so vast, so magnificent, but also so silent. A loneliness crept into my mind. I didn't know where to go, but my instincts told me to keep moving forward. I walked forever, passing through magnificent archways and endless corridors. Every step was a strange feeling, as if I no longer belonged to the old world, but had entered a completely different reality. I searched for someone, some sign to tell me where I was. But this place is like a never-ending maze. Suddenly, a sound rang out, strong but full of authority. Stop. I was startled, my heart pounding loudly in my chest. That voice echoed throughout the space, as if coming from all directions at once. I stood still, my breath held, waiting for something to happen. A man stood before me, looking majestic and powerful. He appears like a brilliant halo in the middle of a quiet space. The light around him spreads gently but powerfully. I looked up, my heart seemed to stop beating. I looked at him in amazement. Everything around me seemed unreal, but his presence was clearer than anything I had ever known. My intuition tells me, he is Jesus. Although that light was bright, hidden deep in his eyes was an immense sadness, an untouchable pain. It was not ordinary sadness, but regret, understanding, and an invisible burden that he was carrying. His shadow fell long on the marble floor. Each step seemed to gently shake the whole space. Those eyes looked straight at me, as if they had witnessed my entire life, all the mistakes, choices, and moments I had missed. I felt benevolent, but also full of severity. A cold wind gently blew past, bringing with it a feeling of sadness, as if he had witnessed countless lost souls before me. I felt my whole body tremble. A feeling of fear and regret welled up in my heart, as if I had just lost something too precious. Without thinking further, I knelt down, my hands clasped tightly, my eyes full of despair, turned to him. Please, please give me one more chance. I don't want to end here. I don't want everything to end like this. My voice trembled, as if all the pain and regret were compressed into each sentence. His eyes still looked at me quietly, without blame, without anger, but only filled with a deep sadness. He slowly walked towards me, his silhouette covering me like a bright curtain of light, but also as heavy as an inescapable fate. He looked at me, as if he knew everything. A gentle breeze blew through the quiet space, bringing with it a sense of suffocating majesty. His voice rang out, strong, decisive, but also full of understanding. Do you know why you are here? I opened my mouth, but my throat was tight. I want to say, but I can't put it into words. It felt like an invisible pressure was pressing down on my chest, forcing me to face myself. His eyes still did not leave me. The surrounding light seemed to waver, reflecting the deep emotions that I tried to hide. Suddenly, the space in front of me changed. The images appeared as clear as a rewind film. I see myself, the moments that matter, the choices I've made, the mistakes I've made. Every action, every word, every thought of mine appears naked and cannot be hidden. I see the times I was selfish, the moments I hurt others without even realizing it, the opportunities I missed because of my own indifference. I was speechless, feelings of shame, regret and pain mixed together, like a storm rolling over me. I wanted to turn away, wanted to run away from what was happening before my eyes. But it's not possible. I was forced to witness everything, forced to face myself without any excuses. He said sadly, "I have lived a hasty life, rushing forward like a gust of wind without ever looking back. I only believed in myself, never stopping to reflect on the true meaning of what I was pursuing. But my fate does not end here. Every action has consequences, and now I must face my own choice." Suddenly, the surrounding scenery changed. Before my eyes, a terrifying scene appeared. The sky was dark, the winds howled like the wailing of thousands of lost souls. A giant black vortex was rolling like a fierce storm, sweeping across the cities. Houses are ruined, streets are deserted, but the scariest thing is the people. They didn't run away. They rushed into the vortex crazily, as if urged by an invisible force. No one forced them, but they still voluntarily entered the darkness. Some people showed a distorted smile. Some even shouted with joy, as if they found liberation in the hysteria. Hands were raised, wild screams echoed in the dim space. "Do you see? This is the path I have taken, the fate of those who chase after illusions, those who never realize the true nature of their lives until it is too late. But there is also another path, a path that I have never thought of. If you accept to let go of the past, you will be reborn. You will no longer be yourself, but someone else, Henry. A new life, a new beginning, but also full of challenges and pain that you have never experienced." I was scared and didn't want to look anymore, but I couldn't look away. Jesus said something that sent chills down my spine. This is what is about to happen. As soon as Jesus finished speaking, the giant black vortex suddenly changed direction and swallowed me whole. An invisible force swept me in, pulling me into its embrace like a bloodthirsty living creature. I struggled, trying to cling to the surrounding air, but it was all in vain. The brutal whirlwind whipped at me, like thousands of invisible blades cutting through my flesh. I couldn't breathe. A terrible pressure weighed on my chest, making me feel like I was being crushed in endless space. Thick darkness enveloped me, and within it, I heard whispers, screams, familiar voices, the echoing sounds of lost souls. I wanted to scream, but my throat was tight. Despair filled me. Is this the end? Do I have another chance? In that moment of being close to nothingness, I realized that this is the place that souls have chosen. And now, I am also standing on the threshold of that. I wanted to scream, to ask for help, but no sound came out of my mouth. I felt as if I were being strangled, swallowed by endless darkness. And then, in that darkness, I saw them, imprisoned people, empty eyes, thin bodies surrounded by invisible chains. They didn't scream, they didn't struggle, they just stood there, as if they had given up all hope. But the scariest thing is their silence. There were no screams of pain, no one begging for release. There was only a cold, terrifying resignation. Who were they? What did they do to be imprisoned here? I looked around, and a terrifying thought popped into my head. Was this my fate? Am I becoming part of this darkness? I was lost in thought, my mind reeling with fears, when suddenly a hand reached out from the light and pulled me back. I felt the strength from that grip, strong but not harsh, authoritative but not imposing. A source of pure energy spread throughout my body, dispelling the feeling of despair that had just surrounded me. I looked up. It was him. His eyes were still calm, as deep as the bottomless ocean. Without saying anything more, I understand that he will not let me fall into darkness. I still have a chance. Why? I choked up. The question seemed to burst into my soul. God looked at me, his eyes filled with infinite sadness. Because they chose to. A wave of protest rose within me. I want to say that no one can choose to live in suffering forever. No one can voluntarily choose that dark path. But deep in my heart, I knew he was right. People have turned their backs on him. They live as if he was never present, never led the way. They run after illusions, ignoring warnings, as if time is endless. And when their life clock runs out, they no longer have a chance to make things right. They chose that path, and now only irreversible regret remains. His strong yet gentle hand still holds me tightly, pulling me out of the endless darkness. I felt safe, like the nightmare was over, but no. I still felt a vague fear clinging to my mind. Those eyes, empty, desperate eyes in a black vortex, still followed me. They don't disappear. They are still there, hidden deep in the endless night. Those eyes contain no hatred or resentment, but only emptiness. A chilling emptiness. I feel like they are calling me, waiting for me to come back. I shivered. A stream of cold air ran down my spine, making me unable to stop shivering. I looked up at him, looking for an answer, an explanation. But his eyes were only sad, as if he had witnessed this scene too many times before. "You still haven't gotten rid of them, right?" I asked softly, my voice choked. He did not answer immediately. There was only silence, a silence as heavy as if it contained all the secrets of the universe. His eyes were still calm, as deep as the bottomless ocean. Without saying anything more, I understand that he will not let me fall into darkness. He slowly raised his hand. There was no rumbling thunder, no dazzling light, only a gentle movement that contained irresistible power. Those hideous creatures roared, their sounds echoing throughout the space like a song of despair. They writhed, their shadows blurred, sucked into an endless void. A strong wind blew through, sweeping away everything, leaving behind an eerie silence. I still stood there, trembling. The surrounding space suddenly became strangely pure, as if the darkness had never existed. I looked at him, my eyes filled with both surprise and gratitude. He said nothing, just looked at me with gentle sadness, as if all that had just happened was just a small part of a larger picture that I could not yet fully understand. Those eyes contained no hatred or resentment, but only emptiness. A chilling emptiness. I feel like they are calling me, waiting for me to come back. Once again, the surrounding space suddenly became strangely peaceful, as if the darkness had never existed. Then, in the midst of that dim scene, a bright light appeared in front of me. That light is not so bright that it burns, but is warm like a gentle invitation. I looked up and my heart skipped a beat. In front of me, the gates of heaven were gradually opening. Towering golden pillars rose, glowing in pure light that did not belong to this world. The air was filled with peace. Each gentle breeze carried the scent of a flower I had never known. Inside, the majestic towers reflected light, as if everything there was made of stars. I felt light in my heart, as if with just one more step, I would be merged into that pure light. But then, I stopped. A question rang in my head. Do I really belong here? Am I worthy of walking through that gate? I felt light in my heart, as if with just one more step, I would be merged into that pure light. But suddenly, in that pure space, a giant book appeared right in front of the gate. It floated in mid-air. The cover of the book emitted a gentle light, as if it were made of stars. I looked at him in amazement as he walked towards the book, placed his hand on it, and slowly opened it. I held my breath. Before my eyes were bright golden letters appearing on each page of the book, so clear that I could read each name. I looked closer, and my heart sank. My name was there. Not only that, I see the names of my family members, the names of friends who have passed through my life. But what stunned me the most were the names fading away, as if they were being erased from existence. I turned to him in shock, my eyes filled with confusion and fear. He remained silent, his eyes sad, as if he had witnessed this countless times. They have been recorded here. He spoke slowly, his voice full of authority but also filled with endless pain. But then they turned their backs. I shivered. I suddenly understood that those who leave him, those who reject the light and enter darkness, will eventually be forgotten, not because he abandoned them, but because they themselves chose that path. An irreversible mistake. I looked back at the page and saw the names continue to fade away, as if they had never existed. A strange pain welled up in my chest. I've always believed that everything in life is just random, that choices don't really matter. But right now, I know that I was wrong. I understand that there is nothing more terrifying than being erased from this place, from your presence. I looked up, my eyes trembling. Please tell me, how not to become one of them? Can they still be saved? He looked at me quietly, his eyes containing a deep sadness. There was a long silence, as if the universe itself was waiting for an answer. No one is abandoned if they really want to return, but people have the right to choose, and that is the most sacred thing I have given them. When a soul voluntarily enters darkness, when they reject the light again and again, salvation will no longer be what they desire. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding in my chest. I wanted to protest, to say that no one would choose this, but the image of the names fading from the page still haunted me. But can't you do anything? Can't anyone bring them back? He sighed softly, then looked straight at me. You can pray. You can bring light to them while you still have the chance, but the final decision is not in your hands. Each soul must choose its own path. I feel like my heart is broken. A feeling of helplessness filled my mind. I never thought the choice would have such weight. He looked at me, his eyes still full of contemplation. A gentle wind blew, bringing with it the answer I had been waiting for. But then, I stopped. A question rang in my head. Do I really belong here? Am I worthy of walking through that gate? I turned to him. His eyes were still quiet, still containing a mysterious sky. He did not urge me to go in, nor did he stop me. I understand that this choice belongs to me. I looked at him, my eyes filled with both surprise and gratitude. He said nothing, just looked at me with gentle sadness, as if all that had just happened was just a small part of a larger picture that I could not yet fully understand. Those eyes contained no hatred or resentment, but only emptiness, a chilling emptiness. I feel like they are calling me, waiting for me to come back. I shivered. A stream of cold air ran down my spine, making me unable to stop shivering. I looked up at him, looking for an answer, an explanation, but his eyes were only sad, as if he had witnessed this scene too many times before. You still haven't gotten rid of them, right? I asked softly, my voice choked. He did not answer immediately. There was only silence, a silence as heavy as if it contained all the secrets of the universe. His eyes were still calm, as deep as the bottomless ocean. Without saying anything more, I understand that he will not let me fall into darkness. I still have a chance. But as soon as I realized that, an invisible force pulled me out of this magical space. I felt my body being drawn into a powerful current. Light flashed around me, and then I opened my eyes. The first feeling that came was my rapid breathing, my chest heaving, my heart beating wildly. The bright white light stung my eyes, and the air rushed into my lungs like a violent wave. I'm back. I have returned to my own body. The sound of sobbing rang out. I felt hands holding me and squeezing me tightly. As my vision gradually became clearer, I saw my family. My mother crying, her face wet with tears. My father squeezing my hand as if afraid I would disappear again. My friends stood around the hospital bed, their faces full of joy and surprise. I have lived. I have returned from the depths of darkness. I tried to speak. My voice was hoarse. I saw. I knew. Everyone looked at me confused. I started talking, telling about my journey, about the things I had seen, about the truth that I had witnessed. I want them to understand. I want them to know that there are things bigger than the world we live in. But no one believes me. They thought I was delirious, that these were just hallucinations caused by trauma. I looked into their eyes trying to find a glimmer of trust, but all there was disbelief and pity. But I don't give up. I know what I see is true. I know each person's choice is more important than ever. I started looking for a way to protect them, to awaken them before it was too late. I am no longer the same person. I have returned, but with a new mission, to remind them that light exists, that even when darkness prevails, there is a path to salvation, and I will fight to the end.
John is a hardworking, filial boy who always has boundless love for his grandparents. He grew up in a small village where life was difficult, but his eyes were always bright with hope. His grandparents were old and weak, their strength was exhausted, but they still saved every meal to raise him. To help his family every day after school, John took a small knife and went to the forest to cut bamboo shoots to sell. Days passed in poverty. Poverty clung to me and did not let go. The society around him is no better. Prices are escalating. Instability is increasing. People gradually lose trust in each other. But John still believes in something bigger, a light that he cannot yet reach. One hot summer afternoon, the red sun was like a block of embers floating above the forest, radiating heat as if it wanted to burn everything. The air was thick, and moisture rising from the ground made John's every step heavier. He weaved through the dense foliage, his old shirt stuck to his back with sweat. His hand trembled as he tightly grasped the small knife, his eyes fixed on the green bamboo shoots rising from the dry ground. But as soon as he bent down to cut down a young bamboo shoot, his mind suddenly staggered. A wave of dizziness came over him, as if someone had drained his strength. John's breathing became rapid, his heart beating wildly in his chest. His eyes dimmed, the sunlight's rays breaking into flickering halos. His knees buckled, his hands tried to grab a nearby tree trunk, but didn't have enough strength. Another shock came, then darkness swallowed everything. John didn't know how long he was unconscious, but when he opened his eyes, he realized he was no longer in the forest. Before his eyes was an endless road, paved with transparent stones that radiated gentle light. On both sides of the road, rows of trees emit a pale yellow light. Their leaves gently vibrate as if they are breathing with everything. The surrounding air was fresh, with the scent of flowers he had never known. In the sky, light does not come from the sun, but from a magical light source that spreads throughout space. The sky is like a magical blue silk strip, dotted with sparkling stars even though it is not night. John walked, his feet did not touch the ground, but seemed to be gently lifted by an invisible force. In the distance, a figure gradually appeared. It was a man wearing a white aodai, a gentle face, and penetrating eyes that seemed to be able to see through his soul. John, you came here for a reason. Your time is not over yet, but you must learn important things before returning. The deep voice rang out, powerful but not intimidating. John stammered, Who are you? Where is this? The man smiled. I am Jesus. You are in a place outside of time where your soul can see the truth. John's heart beat loudly. He had heard his grandparents talk about him, but he never thought he would stand before him like this. But why are you here? Jesus looked at him, his eyes shining with deep sadness. Because humanity is going down the wrong path, and you are one of the people chosen to help them turn back. You must see, must understand, before it is too late. As soon as his words ended, The space around John suddenly rotated. The ground beneath his feet seemed to vanish, giving way to an ocean of sparkling light. A cool breeze blew, carrying with it the pure scent of unprecedented flowers. Before his eyes, a giant golden gate slowly opened, leading into a magnificent paradise. John walked in and was speechless at the scene before his eyes. A valley stretching endlessly, hills covered with bright flowers swaying to the rhythm of the wind. Clear streams flow through glowing rapids, creating gentle sounds like sacred music. The sky has no sun, but the whole space is covered with a warm light, shimmering like the halo of life itself. In the distance, crystal towers rise high, sparkling like gems in the blue sky. In the air, silver birds gently circled, radiating gentle light like stars falling to earth. The air here is not only fresh, but also brings a feeling of absolute serenity, as if all earthly worries have been washed away. John touched the ground, but it was not rough sand, but a layer of soft silk, as smooth as clouds embracing his steps. The surrounding trees rose high, their leaves emitted a gentle light, and each gentle wind shook them, causing them to emit sparkling golden dust, like stars broken in the middle of the day. Everything is so beautiful that it surpasses any words that can describe it. John stood still, his heart fluttering at this unreal beauty. Where are you? Is it a dream or reality? Then from the middle of that magical space, a voice rang out, deep, authoritative, but also extremely gentle. He placed his hand on John's shoulder, and immediately a wave of dizziness overtook his body. The space around him changed, pulling him into another reality. Before his eyes, the year 2025 appeared clearly like a vivid but horrifyingly distorted picture. The city is engulfed in an artificial night, not because of lack of light, but because of the small sparks of war, of violence that burns everything. The deserted streets were filled with burned car bodies, the windows of buildings were smashed, each piece of debris reflecting the flickering firelight. The sound of sirens echoed endlessly, mixed with the screams of people fleeing the chaos. John saw separated families and skinny children huddled under bridges, their eyes empty and without the light of childhood. Adults, haggard faces, trudged heavily on the trash-filled sidewalk, their eyes filled with despair. Others rushed at each other, fighting for the scarce remaining pieces of food. Hatred clings to society like an invisible ghost. Gunfire rang out in the sky. A bomb exploded in the middle of the square, tossing small bodies like puppets with broken strings. John saw blood-stained hands reaching out for help, but no one responded. A man fell right in front of him, his eyes wide open and lifeless, his body motionless amid the chaos of people. John's heart was pounding, his breathing was rapid. He couldn't believe what he was witnessing. Is this really the future? He turned to Jesus, his voice hoarse. Why? Why did things turn out like that? Could it be that no one can stop them? He placed his hand on his shoulder, gently but firmly. There is still hope if people know how to turn around. But that hope is fragile. And John, you are one of the people who brings that light to them. John nodded, but his heart felt like there was an invisible rock weighing him down. The images I just witnessed are still imprinted in my mind. Every desperate face, every scream still echoes in my heart. He couldn't turn his back on that truth, but at the same time, he didn't know if he had the strength to change anything. His hands clenched, his breathing became heavy. His eyes met the steadfast gaze of Jesus, and in that moment, he knew he could not turn back. This mission is not just an option, but an inevitable path. John felt fear rising in his chest as painful scenarios appeared clearly before his eyes. The once bustling city is now just a ghost of desolation. The roads are full of cracks, high-rise buildings collapsed into piles of rubble, covered with ash. On the wide boulevards, floodwaters rushed through, carrying cars, debris, and even helpless people clinging in despair. In the sky, there were no longer towers glowing with lights, but only black smoke rising from the destroyed areas. Screams rang out everywhere, sirens blared like a warning bell about the end of the world. People ran away in panic. Some jostled, some fell down and never got up again. Storms swept through with terrible power, blowing everything in their path, tearing even solid buildings apart. And amid that chaotic scene, Fire burned fiercely, devouring every street that Michael had ever known. He realized that familiar landmarks, beloved states and cities in America, were now only cruel scars on the world map. John looked at Jesus, his voice choked, his eyes sad. "Why is all this happening?" Jesus looked at him, his eyes not only filled with love, but also with deep seriousness. He sighed, then gently answered, "These challenges are not punishments. They are reminders, signals from nature, for people to return to truly important values." Although sadness and suffering still exist, deep down, there is still hope. John began to witness a series of images filled with light, glowing with life and love. Communities that were divided by natural disasters are now united, standing firmly together. Together they rebuilt the destroyed houses, not only with strength, but also with hearts full of love. Yesterday's strangers now embrace each other like blood relatives. No longer any distance, only human connection. John saw a family that lost everything in a fire. Their house is now just a pile of ashes. But the miracle is that they are not alone. They were surrounded by neighbors and friends, people they never knew, providing food, clothing, and comfort. Outstretched arms, gentle words, comforting eyes, all create a picture of kindness. Even though the loss was so great that families still smiled, not because they did not suffer, but because they knew that, in the darkest hours, love was still present and was the only source of light to guide them through the darkness. Those images made John's heart sob, because he understands that no matter how vast the world is, no matter how great the challenges are, love, compassion, and solidarity are still forces that cannot be broken. He looked at him, then stretched out his hand and pointed towards the rising sun in the sky. Like the light of dawn, even though the night is long, when the sun rises, all darkness will be dispelled. Humanity too, even though it is going astray, just needs to return to love, compassion, and faith. Everything will be healed. Jesus pointed to a cloud flying across the sky, forming the shape of a glowing heart. Look at the good things around, the blooming flowers, the gentle smiles, and the care between people. They are light, hope, and signs of true love. When people choose love instead of fear, miracles will appear. Never forget that, even in challenges, love is always present and guides us. John suddenly realized a profound truth. Disasters are not a punishment, but a test to awaken humanity's conscience. They do not come to destroy, but to help people understand the value of love, solidarity, and responsibility for each other. It is in the darkest hours that light can shine most strongly. Humanity can fall in the face of difficulties, but it can also stand up from the ashes if they know how to put their heart above all else. Jesus said, "Challenge is an opportunity for humanity to prove its strength and kindness." It is in the darkest times that people have the opportunity to shine brightest. A feeling of relief washed over John as he understood that humanity still had a chance to change. Images of compassion, of people holding hands to overcome challenges, ignited his faith. But at the same time, another worry crept into my mind. Is it too late? Will people be able to realize this before everything completely collapses? A hesitation flashed in his eyes. His heart was heavy with that question. Jesus looked at him, his eyes full of understanding. "John, don't let fear dim your light. The future is not a predetermined thing, but what people choose now. When you bring love, forgiveness, and kindness to the world, you are sowing seeds of hope, and just one seed is enough to sprout into a forest. They do not come to destroy, but to help people understand the value of love, solidarity, and responsibility for each other." John felt his heart flutter. "You are just a poor boy. How can you change the world?" But Jesus saw something in him that he had never realized. "What do I need to do, sir?" He smiled. "Come back. Live, spread this message. Teach people about love, about how to save themselves before saving the world. It's not physical strength, but the power of the heart that will change everything." John felt a strong flow of energy enter his body. The image before his eyes gradually faded. Light enveloped him. John opened his eyes and took a deep breath. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, illuminating his face. The sound of chirping forest birds rang out somewhere. But the first thing he noticed were the worried voices around him. "The boy's awake! He's awake!" John blinked, looking around in surprise. A group of passers-by had surrounded him, their worried faces now relaxed into expressions of joy. A woman bent down, her voice gentle. "Son, are you okay? We found you lying unconscious here. We thought it was too late." John felt a wave of warmth well up inside him. He nodded, feeling the new strength flowing through his veins. But most of all, the connection between people. Hands reached out, helping him stand up. They didn't know him, but they were still worried and helped without hesitation. "You need to go home, right? Let us give you a hand." John nodded. Not only was he revived, but he also witnessed human love in the simplest actions. As they helped him through the forest, toward the small village, John knew that he was not alone, and that this world, no matter how dark, still had the light of hope. He returned home, bringing with him a change that he couldn't even describe in words. Every word and every action he said from that day was different from before. He is no longer just a boy selling bamboo shoots. He began to share what he saw, telling people about the future, about the changes they needed to make before it was too late. At first, no one believed him, but then a few people stopped to listen. One person, then two people. Gradually, the whole village began to pay attention. The lessons about love, kindness, and how to live not only for yourself, but also for each other, spread far and wide. People who only know selfishness gradually learn to open their hearts. Fractured families gradually find connection again. The change spread from village to village, then to the city. And then, John realized, change doesn't necessarily have to start with big things. It may start from a small heart, but it is strong enough to shake the whole world. John was reborn, not just physically, but spiritually, and he begins his mission, a mission that will change the destiny of humanity forever.